We're going to wait a couple minutes while folks join us as we step into that. And what changes do we need to make in order to operate in this new reality or return to how we were at a certain set point in the past? What needs to change because of what has changed in our world? And lastly, the next step of that is resilience, which is there's going to be more change happening. What got really stressed and really scary back in March that we need to address so that next time things get really stressed and really scary, we're not in that exact same situation. How do we build some resilience into what we do, who we are, and how we exist? So there's this continuum of response, recovery, and resilience. And we exist on this continuum in each of our programs, in each of our organizations. And on any given day, we're at a different place. And some of us are recovering right now, and some of us are still largely shut down because of the conditions as they presenting themselves for your mission. If you're doing live in-person events, or if you're in the arts, there's a good chance you're still in this response stage where you're just trying to figure out, how do I move forward from day to day and provide service as best as I can given the situation. Some of us may be back to operating under what we would now consider to be a new normal, where we're able to provide a service and it looks different than it did before, but we're settling into a rhythm and a routine a little bit, and it's going to continue to change. But we're recovering somewhat. I don't know how many of us are sort of at the resilient stage where we've put this behind us and started to sort of take inventory of where we've come from and where we're going. But we're on this continuum. This continuum, I think, fits pretty well with the graphic that we just showed on operations, business, and strategic, where our response is typically operational. It's, what do I need to change to provide this service next week in a way that's safe for clients and safe for my staff? What PPE do I need? What dividers do I need in my space? What new space do I need so we can spread out? What are our capacity limits around what we do? It's response here and now in the present. Recovery starts to look a little more at the business model, the business plan, and starts to say, okay, this is where we are now. How much of this is sustainable? Is our funding for the past year, are we sort of propped up by new sources of funding that we weren't used to before, like PPP or EIDL loans or coronavirus relief funds? And as those go away, are we going to be okay? Or do we need to figure out how to tweak some things regarding our cost and revenue so that we can be sustainable moving forward? What do we need to change regarding our business model, our business plan, who we serve and how we serve them? And then that strategic question is about resilience. And what's our mission fit now and moving forward? What's our vision now and moving forward? What are the values that we fall back and rest on that carry us as we continue to do our work into the longer term future, looking out past this next year, but into the next 5 years? Who do we want to be, and how do we make sure that we are that in our community? What resiliency do we need to build in today to ensure that we're there in 5 years? I will say that I think it's a bit of a trap for us as leaders to exist just in that response stage, focusing on one thing, focusing on just showing up today in our services with our staff, with our board, often means that we're missing something else that we should be seeing, which is maybe at that recovery stage. We're missing out on an opportunity that may be presenting itself to us that we could take advantage of. So we're here, we're in this response stage for a good reason. We have limited bandwidth to take on all that's coming at us. But having this lens can be helpful for us as we look at what's happening operationally and how much of that is impacting or should be impacting that next frame up, that business plan level, which is going to take us a little more into the future and making us more impactful beyond just the next 12 weeks and 12 months. Now, there's one more frame that I want to layer onto this. Most of our organizations don't exist. There we go. Most of our organizations don't exist as just a single monolith that does one thing and it just sort of has that singularity to it. We have a number of different programs, right? There are things that we do a bunch of different things within our organizations, programs, services, departments, call them whatever you want. Each of those exists underneath the strategic plan of mission, vision, values, who we are, where we want to go, how are we going to get there. But each of those have their own business model, have their own funding stream, have their own resources that need to be allocated to those to carry out mission. So we have these different programs that fall beneath that strategic plan, each with their own business plan and operations plan, activities, budgets, tactics, things like that. Each of those have also been impacted differently depending on the mechanics of that service. So if you have, obviously, if you have a service that's predicated upon gathering in person, especially in large amounts, large numbers of people, then that program is going to be impacted much greater and much more significantly than the program that exists online or in a different venue. So each program has its own impacts. And it's important for us as we do this work on strategy, business, and operations, not just to talk about the monolithic organization, but to actually dig in and say, okay, what does that mean for programs 1, 2, and 3, or this service versus that service? And I'll give you some questions to ask. Again, if you're doing nothing else, asking these questions can help as we start to navigate our way through making decisions around a changing environment, changing circumstances. So at the operational level, and these are things that, these are questions that I'm certain you have been asking and answering probably incessantly for the past 12 months, but maybe framing it up and formally asking it may help. So at the operational level, what program adjustments are needed in that program in order for you to operate safely moving forward? Again, what sort of equipment, supplies, people, resource do you need in order to operate that program safely? What resources are needed, funding, time, expertise, stuff to make those adjustments? And then what budget impacts has that program experienced? This is the big operational question I think we should all be able to ask and answer right now, though. Are those budget impacts single year blips, meaning that it was a change to our operations, or are those budget impacts a sign of something that may be unsustainable moving forward? If things go back to normal, as things open up, are we going to see that those budget impacts, if they were negative, sort of rectify themselves? Or is the funding model that we had in place for that service, is that probably going to be gone, either because revenues are going to continue to be down or because expenses are going to continue to be up, because now we have to adjust to a new normal and how we provide service. And we can't have the same number of capacity of clients that we're serving, or we have additional expenses with PPE and other public health requirements that are going to be required of us probably for the indefinite future. So operational questions, single year blip, unsustainable business model. Moving up to the next level, to that business level questioning, what's the current need for the program? Current need for the program. So we all started our programs thinking that it was to fit a certain need when we first started. Does that need still exist at the exact same level that it did before? You may find that it's increased, you may find that it's decreased, not because your services are not needed anymore, but because the world has changed and you're not able to provide that service in the same form or fashion. Has your client profile changed? Are you still serving the same people that you were back in February of 2020? Or are you serving new clients, and what are their needs as compared to the clients that you previously served? What's your current capacity to deliver that program? Are you able to, do you have the staff? Do you have the funding? Do you have the facilities and infrastructure to deliver the program or not? Is the funding model still viable? Theoretically, are you able to generate enough revenue to support the amount of resources that it takes to deliver that program in the way that you want to deliver it? And are there new opportunities presenting themselves? This is the question that I know you've been asked probably ad nauseum about, sort of innovating your way through COVID and finding new opportunities as they present themselves. But it's a real question, and it's a real thing that we need to be focused on. And we've seen some really creative and exciting things that nonprofits, large and small, have done in their community, where they've just sort of leaned into the present reality and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. This is all we can do today, but it's an opportunity. And we've seen some neat things that may continue and may grow and may become a bigger aspect of programming for organizations as we move into what the future may hold. Most of us have probably seen this. If not, it's worth looking at. This is the mission money matrix is what it's called. It comes from the book Nonprofit Sustainability: Making Strategic Decisions for Financial Vitality. And the concept is that you place all of your programs on a 2x2 matrix. And on the x-axis, you have financial sustainability. Does this program sustain itself and support itself when its full costs are allocated to it? On the y-axis, you have mission merit. How good of a mission fit is this program for us in regards to our stated mission, vision, and values? It's very helpful for us, and we don't have to be exact with the numbers. You can do this as sort of a theoretical exercise with your board and with your leadership staff, but to plot all of your programs on this 2x2 axis regarding financial sustainability and mission merit, mission impact. Do it for where this program was at the beginning of 2020, and do it for where that program is today and what's changed and why. It's helpful too to have the size of the blocks there because your biggest programs are going to carry the biggest impact and carry the most resource and most mission impact for your organization. Many of us have programs that are high mission value, high merit, but they don't support themselves or they don't generate the revenues in order to sustain themselves financially. Those are in the top left corner. Top right is where we're all headed. Ideally, where programs sustain themselves and they have high mission merit. We also have programs in the bottom right, like Program B, that are they generate a surplus, but maybe they're a little lower on the mission merit and mission impact side. So maybe this is sort of a government contract we took on that pays for its full cost and adds to the bottom line, but it wasn't exactly what we were created to do. It's just what the RFP was that said, hey, we can provide this service. And then in the bottom left corner, we have those programs that have low mission merit and don't sustain themselves anymore. It's important for us, again, chart this out for where you were at the beginning of 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. Chart this out for where you are today and have a conversation around what's changed. And see if you have some of those programs that have maybe fallen into being less mission impact and less sustainable. That doesn't just automatically mean we take the axe to them and say we're not going to do that anymore. But we do need to ask the question: okay, how do we either boost the impact of this service in our community, or boost the sustainability of the service for our organization, or how do we shrink it so that it's not quite the loss leader that it is? So this is a very helpful exercise for us as we chart out what's changed and what do we do about it. Any questions about that before we move forward? This last slide here for us really, I think, gets to the meat of rapid planning and what rapid planning is all about. It's really about rapid decision making. Again, we can have all the plans in the world, but if we can't use those to make quick, sound decisions around how we should move forward, there's no point to it, right? We lay our plans, we create our plans to help us wayfind, to help us make sense of the world, and to help us fall back on firm footing when things change. So these are some tips and some guidelines. This comes from McKinsey & Company that we can use as leaders in our organizations to help us make rapid and sound decisions as we step into the future. Number one is take a breath and realize that although we need to move quickly and expediently, we don't have to move that quickly and that expediently. We can stop and assess information and make decisions quickly but effectively. So, I've heard the old adage, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Slow down, take your time. That's going to get you to your end result as quicker than making a rash decision without taking that time to think about it. And by take a breath, find that balcony perspective and fit the change in circumstances, the decision that's facing you, fit that within that planning frame. Is this an operational question? Do I have to make decisions around operations? Do I need to make a decision around business model, or is this sort of a higher level strategic level decision that I need to make? Fit it within that and understand what's firm beneath that, so that you understand how big of a decision you need to make. 2, involve people. Involve more people than maybe you think you need to involve. Your org chart within your organization is helpful in understanding who has what responsibilities and who sees what and who knows what. But don't be afraid to look outside the org chart for wisdom. So involve more people in as formal or as informal ways as possible. So that could be other staff. It could be other stakeholders like board members. It could be clients. It could be community members. It could be leaders of sister organizations in different communities. When you're faced with big decisions, don't be afraid to reach out to other folks who are in the same boat. If all else fails, reach out to M&A, and if we can answer a question or provide our own feedback, we can connect you with other members who may be facing similar circumstances. Look up, down, across, and outside the organization for different stakeholder voices that can give you some wisdom to make a sound decision. 3rd here, make critical small choices. So not every decision we make is earth-shattering, and not all the earth-shattering decisions we make are big. Sometimes there are small things small choices that we make, small decisions that we make that have big impacts in the short and the long term for organization. A way that we can sort of tease out which small choices are impactful and which are just small choices we need to make is to use scenarios. And that's work that we're going to do in our rapid planning course, where we can actually lay out not just different scenarios of what can happen in the external world, what we think may come at us, but also what are some scenarios about what's going to play out for us internally, financially, operationally, programmatically, because by seeing that, we start to see that, okay, this decision is a linchpin. If we make this one right, it's going to impact these 5 things after it. And this is an important decision that maybe we didn't see that as an important decision when we first started. So make critical small choices, use scenarios to help you do that. And we're going to give you some resources through our course that will help you do that in a way that's makes it a little bit easier. 4 is to set up what they call a nerve center, and understand who needs to see what information and when. So again, go back to that strategic, business, and operational level planning, and those questions that were there. There's data beneath each of those questions, beneath each of those levels that is important for leaders, staff leaders, board leadership, volunteers, to see, to make good decisions. Understand what are those essential few things that I need to see to make a good decision, and when do I need to see it? So if that's, I only need to see this bit of data once every quarter and I'm going to be fine because it doesn't change that much, or I need to see that information, I need a report every week that tells me how we're doing in this service regarding our census or income in and out or cash in and out or whatever it is. Find those essential few things probably tied to finance, client impact, internal process, and our own organizational learning. Find those not 20 things, 5 things that we need to be able to see and understand when I need to see it to make timely, proactive decisions. And not just me as a leader, but who within my organization needs to see what to help me make those decisions or to make their own decisions within their own programs. Which leads to number 5, which is empower those leaders within the organization whenever possible to make decisions themselves. And I will say, we're far enough into this where you've sort of seen what your teams are made of. You've seen judgment and character, and you've seen those that have sort of leaned into challenges, regardless of whether they're leaders or not. lean on those who have been consistent with judgment and character and have been sound in their thinking and have been sound in their just what they bring to the organization emotionally. Lean on those to help you make decisions and to carry some of the lift for you as an organization. And lastly, they've got 5, but they've got this asterisk at the bottom that says "Go big or go home." Most of us have made really big decisions in the last year regarding what we're going to do and who we're going to be moving forward. Most leaders tend to underreact. We tend to take the incremental step. Oftentimes, it's when we see the choice that needs to be made, don't be afraid to step into it and to take that full step instead of the baby step and say, here's what we're doing now, and then roll with it. Go big or go home. So I wanted to get that to 45 minutes, and I think we did that. Again, our course coming up, starting in 2 weeks from today, is going to go much further into this idea of business planning and operational planning and how you embed that into your organization so that you can make those quick and rapid decisions that are going to lead to maximum mission impact and maximum sustainability for your organization moving forward. We're going to give you toolkits to support that work. We want you to bring your board, bring your staff, bring yourself to that course and experience it together. It's going to be a course that's like this. It'll be delivered online and then posted on our LMS site with the resources so you can access everything afterwards and have those in perpetuity. I think it's going to be a course that, if you found yourself wandering in the wilderness a little bit, trying to figure out where are we and where are we going and how are we going to get there, this could be a course that can ground you in some concepts that will get you there more quickly. So I encourage you all, if price is an issue, reach out to us. We're happy to scholarship as we're able, but join us for that course. Thank you for your time. What questions do you have based off of what we talked about here today, and anything that you want to bring to the group for discussion? Either put it in the chat or even raise your hand or unmute yourself and let me know what you got. Anything at all? Yes, I will end screen share. Okay.
Hey, Adam, it looks like Randy has a question, but we can't hear her yet. Oh, there you are. Nope. Yes, Peg, the slides will be shared. Randy, feel free to.
Okay, now can you? Okay, all right,
Yes.
Thank you. My apologies. Adam, thank you so much for this today. This was really useful and practical, and it's information that I'll implement with my team right away. I have a question about the upcoming series.
Yes.
And at my organization, we've been wondering about, is this the right time to start some strategic planning? Our previous strategic plan has expired. We have a new executive director. And from the description of the series, it seems like not only will you be providing information on kind of how to have a decision-making process, but there also might be some resources for different ways of thinking about strategic planning right now.
Yes. Yeah, there will be. We're definitely going to focus in, especially on those questions I framed on need for a mission right now and capacity to serve that need. We're going to go further into that, which informs strategic plan. So it tells us, what's the state of mission and vision of organization and how is that expressing itself right now? And what do we maybe need to change and shift? I will say, I think our time horizon is, we're not talking 3 to 5 years, we're talking 3 to 6 months, which is important. But that then leads into who do we want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. So typically when we talk strategic plans, we're talking about something that's greater than a year, or greater than that sort of short window, but it should inform that work as well. So I think the concepts are timeless and helpful in that regard, but we're not walking through a strategic planning process, I should say. Yeah, but it can inform that and help that.
But it could be useful, especially
Yes,
if the board attends to, as kind of a pre-planning
I would agree. Yes. I would absolutely
exercise.
agree.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for what you do and continuing to serve on the front lines. This has been a challenging season, and hopefully we can provide some resources that make it easier for you, even a little bit. So thanks, and we will see you hopefully in a couple weeks.